My position is that government has overstepped its bounds with respect to governing the people. The problem I have with the mandatory vaccines is that it does not allow for a personal belief or a religious exemption. So at that point, government is no longer government per se, but now it's turned into a dictatorship. When a government tells you what you must do, with penalty if you don't do it, that's a problem. Anytime a government is going to tell you that you must do this, and when I'm talking about doing this, I'm talking about something that goes inside of you. There is not enough data, there's not enough science to tell me, to convince me that government has my best interest at heart, and that what I'm putting into my child's system does not have any adverse side effects.
At this point, it's mandatory for children enrolled in public school.
In public school.
Okay. But not for adults.
Not for adults yet. And that's the whole problem that I'm trying to address, is that once you allow government to come in with this bully power and you don't stop it, it's going to continue on being a bully and a bully and a bully until it's met with opposition.
Now, people on the other side of this would say that this is about trust in science and scientific method. How do you see it?
When you talk about science and scientific method, objectively speaking, that sounds great. But right now, the problem with science is that science is corrupted because of the money involved. You can fudge data. There's been so many revelations now about science being busted because of the impact that finances, and they had to get this point. They had to get this result, and as a consequence, they compromised themselves. So if you look at the CDC is in so much trouble. It cannot be trusted. So the data that comes out of there, pro-vaccine, whatever, it can't be trusted.
So the influence of big money is involved.
Huge money. The pharmaceutical industry is the largest advertiser. They have the largest lobbying in DC. Huge. We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars at stake. And there's no way in the world that industry is going to go away, without opposition.
So, you have proposed, and frankly, this is what got my attention on this. I'll ask it in the form of a question, like on Jeopardy. What have you proposed that people do in order to fight this?
Well, the thing that I'm proposing is that people start voting with their pocketbooks or with their wallets. Because right now, when we vote at the ballot box, oftentimes that's not enough. And in this case, it was not enough. And so people can now vote with their wallets, with their pocketbooks, so forth and so on, and really get their point across. Anytime you have government that does not listen to you, even though you vote, government will listen to you when you start voting with your pocketbook. When they no longer have that money, because with the loss of money comes loss of power, that's when you get results. When the people stand up and government meets with opposition, that's where you're going to have change. Until then, you're not going to have change.
So, in the case of this mandatory vaccine, in what way do people vote with their money?
Well, number one, we can not pay our property taxes, because that property taxes goes to fund the schools. The schools are saying, we're not going to allow you in if you don't vaccinate your child. So my thing is, if you're not going to let me in, then I'm not going to pay my property taxes.
So that got my attention in a big way when I read that in the press release. That brings up a couple of questions. Obviously, I guess you do think people will participate in this boycott, or you wouldn't be calling for it. And then what would the government's response likely be?
Well, in most counties, you have 5 years to go without paying your property taxes before there's a lien on your property.
So people could participate in a property tax boycott without necessarily risking their house.
Right.
For 5 years, assuming they saved the money, didn't pay the taxes, and a large number of people did this.
Right.
Then they could possibly, get some momentum.
Well, they would have momentum, and then government would start listening to them. We can't do this anymore.
And then if they go to foreclose on thousands and thousands of people, that's a huge political issue. It's not going to be just as simple as that.
But see, the thing is, if you don't pay your property taxes, the school's not going to get its money. You will be heard.